Hello everyone. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at SimpleRockets 2 again, and we're going to be trying to build ourselves a spy satellite. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and get the basic structure of the satellite itself. Now, keep in mind, real satellites are something like 20,000 kilograms. Our satellite's going to be a little bit smaller and a little bit lighter. But again, I want to give it a little bit of sophistication. Again, keyword a little bit here. So let's make it, 2 meters looks pretty good. Of course, all spy satellites are going to need a couple different pieces of critical equipment, most important of which is going to be the camera. So what we're going to do here is we're going to make sure we're facing a good direction here to make it nice and simple to engage our little camera equipment here. So I'm going to go down to this particular selection here. Let's see here. I need myself a little camera. I'm going to go ahead and slap that on the roof, and it's going to be facing that direction. That actually looks pretty good. Next thing what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to attach the little command chip on this thing. Look at the size of the command chip compared to the rest of everything here. We're actually going to shrink that down in a second because it's just a little bit too big. So let's go over here. We're going to go to Tinker Panel. Again, this is a very, very good satellite. So nice. So now we're going to make this one the primary, so we can actually get rid of all this junk. We don't need that right now. Cool. So this is our satellite so far. Not much to it. We'll get nicer. Let's go ahead and get ourselves some solar panels. We're definitely going to need that here. We're also going to need a pretty decent battery. Oh my. Okay, I'm beginning to think my spy satellite is a little too small. Call it a hunch, but yeah, our satellite's a little too small. All right, so let's go ahead and break it apart. And we'll go ahead and change our scale just a little bit here. We'll go up to, let's do a half a meter. So that makes it a meter wide, which is a little bit better. It's still a little obnoxious, but and we'll go up a little bit bigger. I don't want to make the satellite too big, but it does need to be able to accommodate these solar panels, okay. All right, that's a little better. Let's go ahead and make it a little bit taller too. And this is definitely the Mark II. All right, that's looking a little better. Let's put our camera back on the roof. And now we have enough room to actually stick the control chip just like chilling up there. Ugh, this thing is definitely going to need a payload fairing. Okay, let's go ahead and mirror that sucker. So now we have solar panels on both sides. Let's see here. We want to take a look at what this is going to look like. I'm not going to lie. That's not as old school as I like. I like something a little bit thin. Ooh, what have we done? That's looking a little better. I like that. Oh, yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's shrink down my row size a little bit here. Oh, I like that. Yeah, now we're talking. Cool. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and close that up. I don't need it right now. I said close. It just did. Okay, so we've got our camera. Everything's looking really, really good. Camera 1, I'm going to call it. Camera 1, we'll come up with some ways to do. We don't need to look. Pad position, I actually like to shut that off because what it does is it shifts your view a little bit higher. But in this case, I'm actually going to leave it on so we have a better view. Okay, let's go ahead and throw on some electronics here. We're going to need ourselves a little bit of a battery on here. That's a little too big. I'll shrink that down a little bit. Again, we don't need anything obnoxious here. But what I do need to do is put a gyroscope on here so we can control our attitude. Again, I've got an attitude problem. I'm going to shrink this down. You don't need the world's biggest gyroscope. A lot of times what I'll actually do with gyroscopes is I'll put them on both sides just to make it a little bit easier. So let's actually pull those off. Actually, I like this one right here. I'll put that one right there. Let's get ourselves a copy of that and make another one up top. I don't want to go too extreme here. Again, that's the sounds it should be making. It just doesn't. So what do we got here? So we got something that is... let's pull this off for a second. What do we got? We'll do half a meter on the top and half a meter on the bottom. What's our size? 75. 75, half a meter. 75, half a meter. Half a meter and 75. Delightful. Okay, I'm liking where this is going. All right, let's go ahead and reattach my little smart chip. Let's go put the camera back on the top. And now we're starting to look a little bit like a satellite. I'm actually liking the way this is going so far. Okay, so we have the ability to control our attitude. We're definitely going to need to get ourselves a battery here. So come in here on the bottom, I'm going to slap a battery on. Our battery does not need to be that large. So 20.25 meters is going to be fine. Go shut that off. We're going to just fill it up with some battery. Remember, battery is what's going to be controlling our attitude here. We're not going to be using RCS because we just don't need it. Of course, because I'm me, I always like to make sure it's a slightly different color so that I can kind of see what I'm doing here. And well, we're spy satellites, right? We got to have some fun with it. Covert. Ooh, look at that. It looks terrible, I'm not going to lie. Yeah, we'll go with Europa today. Just have some fun. All right, we'll go ahead and throw that as a little black line there just to remind us. And we're going to go ahead and mark our 2 gyro units with blue. Man, I'm terrible at coloring things. I should really not do these things. All right, let's continue. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get myself a nice handy-dandy little kind of RCS system. Not RCS, but a little teeny-tiny motor if we need to kind of push this thing around a little bit. Usually with satellites, we use ion engines. So I'm just going to slap an ion engine on the back there. Again, you don't need a lot of thrust for an ion engine, which is actually kind of awesome. So let's go ahead and close the Tinker Panel. We'll go ahead and open this one up. We'll make sure that we can rotate this thing like crazy. Let's go ahead and take a look. Ion engine looks good. Looks good. That looks good there. I don't need to change any of that, so I'm not going to change any of that. So there is our satellite. It weighs 3,700 kilograms, which is, it's not great, but it's also not bad either, so I'm really not complaining here. All right, so that's going to be our satellite. I'm just studying real quickly here because I don't want to make any stupid mistakes that I can avoid. And just, there's always that one thing I always forget about, so we can reorient pretty successfully. We have plenty of electrical power. We have plenty of fuel. Now, let's see here. We've got the camera. Without the camera, we're busted. Yeah, I'm liking our little satellite here. Let's go ahead and save this as our satellite here, just in case. And we'll call this keyhole 1. Okay. All right, cool. Let's do it. So now we need something to get this thing into space. So first of all, I'm going to see what I have available as far as kind of bits here. We could use a centaur. It's probably going to be the easiest thing to use. Go ahead and slap this guy up on the roof. Whoa, I've done that 1,000 times. What we really need to do is slap the centaur on the bottom. But before I do that, I want to build a fairing for it, because I do want to be able to protect it aerodynamically on the way up kind of a thing. That doesn't look like a fairing. Oh, Control Z, Control Z. So I don't want you resizing. I want the buddy above you resizing. Oh, look what I've done. Okay, just you. There we go. So we'll do a 2-meter fairing, which is gigantic, but that's fine for us. Go ahead and put the side fairing here. Again, we just want to be able to protect our very expensive payload. And we'll go ahead and pop that guy right up on the tippy top. So here is our combined Centaur upper stage here. And not the prettiest thing I've ever designed, but I ain't complaining. All right, let's go ahead and pop this right on the bottom here. All right, if you're going to be that way, then I'll be that way. So whenever this happens, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just take the fairing apart real quick, and then I'll just grab this piece and just sort of slap it in here. I thought this was an interstage. Are you not an interstage? No, you're definitely an interstage. And then you get something that looks kind of like that when you do that. And then obviously we can't put our fairing back onto it. I hate the way fairings behave in this program. It's just not nearly as user-friendly as it could be. One trick that I did find that works really well is to do that. Because then I can go ahead and stick this back on the top. And then I can stick this whole stack like that. See how that works? That's a really, really slick method to kind of get around that problem. Then I can put my little cage back around it, my really, really ugly looking nose, make it a little pointy, and then for some reason I got this thing just sort of hanging out. Is it at the bottom of this? It is. And then I have my incredibly ugly pretend centaur upper stage here with my handy dandy satellite payload up at the tippy top. Okay, let's see what we got here. So liquid hydrogen, that's an RL10, naturally. So let's see here. My stage 2 has got 4.9. It does not have a thrust to weight ratio greater than 1, which means if we're going to use this as an upper stage, we're going to need something with a lot of kick underneath it. So, just trying to think of what we want to use as a lower stage here. I think I have a CBC somewhere that I can use, but unfortunately CBC is a big rocket. Actually, that's not too bad. Let's see what we got here. We'll use a CBC. Go ahead and grab this. Go ahead and pop the top off. Don't need it anymore. Let's go ahead and throw an inner stage underneath. And let's grab the rest of the rocket. Whoa. Okay, fine, be that way. I'll stick this on the bottom of the rocket. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Woo, that is not a small rocket there. So let's go ahead and look at the bottom there. Let's see what we got here. Liquid gas generator, analyze performance. And let's see here. We have nothing. Let me go check my staging here. I think something's up with that. Aha! The interstage fires before I can reliably use it. So I'm going to go ahead and put this right here. Now we're in business. So my first stage has, oh my gosh. So we're able to put this satellite into geosynchronous orbit is what I'm seeing. So this might be a little bit too much stage. So I'm actually going to get rid of that. So oopsies. So let's go ahead and put a new stage on the bottom of this thing. And let me get like a little bit, I'll go with like 12 meters. I think that's going to be more than enough for this particular operation. Again, we don't have to get serious here. Let's go ahead and pop a motor on the bottom of it. I don't need anything too big, but something bigger than that, though. That's sticky right there. All right, what does that do for us? So that gives us 50. Actually, that's almost perfect. I almost don't have to do anything here. I am going to optimize it for lower altitude, though. That is one thing I will do differently. So we're using liquid oxygen, liquid methane. That works perfectly fine. We could probably get away with kerosene down here if we wanted to kind of soften things up a little bit. So that looks good to me. That looks good to me. I'm liking that. We could probably make this a cone to get a little bit more gas mileage out of it, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. So 401 seconds is really, really high. That's going to kill our delta V, though, because naturally as you get higher. We're going to go ahead and reduce the size of this engine. We don't need anything that big. So we'll do 1.5 times. It's going to get us a delta V of 2,900 meters a second, which is not going to be enough. Okay, so it seems to me like we're either going to have to switch the nozzle around to try to get a little more bang out of this thing, or we're going to have to go with a longer stage here. So I think I'm going to opt for the longer stage. So we're going to go up, let's see, we did 12 meters. Let's try a 15-meter stage and see what happens. Yeah, it's not quite 15 meters. Yeah, 15. Of course, if I did the math, I could tell you exactly how big that stage would have to be. But that's okay. And connect. We're going to have to increase the size of our motor a little bit here. 1.5 is my magic number. That gets us 3,400 meters per second, which means the upper stage is going to have to carry us the last 1,500 meters a second. But remember, we're going to have reduced thrust. Ooh, this might not go well. Let's add one more. You know what? I got a better idea. Let's put that back. Let's add some extra little booster rockets to help getting us up into space, because I'm really, really nervous that this number is going to be too low, and then my Centaur is not going to be able to push us up the rest of the way. So to do that, I'm just going to go up here and grab myself an inner stage. I always like to put it at 360 degrees, which is right there. And we'll probably just kind of get ourselves some castors, just a pair of them. Let's see here. Grab some castors. Which one do we want? The A? We'll do the A. That looks pretty good right there. We'll go ahead and array these around real fast. We'll do 3. Now we're in business. Now we're going to go over to our staging real quick. We want to make sure all 3 of our 8 stages fire together. Those fire, but that should not fire. Lame. Where's my big engine? You, get down there. And through this interstage will fire, that interstage will fire there. Okay, now we're up to 3,800 meters per second as far as my upper stage, first stage goes. I'm actually still not happy with that. I'm going to do one more. There we go, 3,900. Ta-da! What do you think? Folks at home are going, yeah, we'll see exactly how well this goes. I like how the upper stage is bigger than the rest of the rocket. The other problem we're going to have with this is going to be drag. So one thing I am going to do real quickly is just clean up the drag situation, because I know exactly how this story goes for those of you who have not played with this before. So I'm just going to reduce the drag on the top of the rocket just a teeny tiny bit. Because what will happen is, as you climb, the drag, when you tip over the first time, the change in angle of attack will cause us to tumble. And that's going to be kind of messy when that happens. But everything else looks pretty darn good. I'm not thrilled with the paint job there, but it'll work fine for us today. All right, let's go ahead and load up my favorite little program here. Edit program. This is a great thing. You can find this on the SimpleRockets website if you've not played with this before. I'm just going to make sure everything looks good. I don't want to go down. I want to do 85 because I want a little bit more thrust. Okay, ready? Let's find out. Speed up time a little bit here. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, los. Woo! And going up. Now, one thing I'm going to have to keep an eye on here is just how stable this is. Remember, there's no RCS on this thing anywhere. When these rockets do run out, I'm going to have to manually stage them. It looks like it's transparent. It's so weird. All right, keeping an eye on my fuel economy here. I'm not going to lie, but I didn't check my staging correctly here, so I'm a little nervous that I accidentally at one point. But I'm noticing it's very, very stable here because this big rocket motor right here is doing us a really good solid here, trying to keep us nice and stable by gimbling itself. All right, 20%. Come on, castors, you just got to get us up a little bit higher. 1% to go. Open up, time is slowed down when it says 0. Here they come, burn out. Uh-oh. And that happened. So it looks to me like our staging was busted. So I'm going to go double check to see what this thing's temp was. So that was the inner stage up there. The inner stage down there was 4x, 5 of those engines. So that all worked. That all worked. Then, of course, we have the ion engine at the very, very tippy top there. So that should not fire until this happens. I'm just thinking this one through. We can open up the fairing at pretty much any time and nothing bad will happen. I think it auto-staged and kind of blew us up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go edit program real quick. I'm going to go find this little thing that, okay, don't touch that one. This one is the one I'm going to remove. Whoop, didn't need to do that. Just need to grab that and go like that. I'll stage manually here. Because if we do let that kind of continue, kind of a thing like that, that's going to give us all sorts of fun later on. All right, let's try it again. Fortunately, we can speed up time, so I'm not too worried. All right, speed up time. This time, definitely, as I like to say. Whoop, open up the console. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Nice. Okay, now we've disabled automatic staging. Completely manual here. All right, so we're going to do our initial climb out here. Take a nice gentle right turn. Again, we have this expensive spy satellite category, our payload cargo. Keep an eye on that fuel. Again, we have to do this by hand now. Gravity turn looks really consistent there. And here comes our first stage. Slow down time, want to be nice and smooth. always fun to watch this from the back. Whee! I like how the rocket bopped the back of the rocket on its way up. That can't be safe. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and use our big stage here. This is basically an SSME. This is the same thing that, it's an RS-68, I think is the technical term for that. Speed up time a little bit here. All right, our apoapsis is coming up now. We want to get to about 100 kilometers, which for spy satellite is relatively low because in the real world you have this thing called drag. You don't have to worry about that nearly as much in this program. Because once we get past 60 kilometers, none of it really matters. All right, climbing up. How much gas we got left? We got about 1,700 meters a second. That's not bad. Continuing to climb here. All right, we're calculating our delta V for apoapsis. We're going to start a burn immediately, but unfortunately, since we don't have enough fuel to actually do the apoapsis cleanly, we're just going to go ahead and now point the rocket down and circularize early. Usually when you circularize this aggressively, you're actually going to lower your apoapsis. That's something you kind of want to be mindful of. But look at my orbital velocity. We're going to be most of the way to our orbit long before we actually reach our apoapsis, which you can see is starting to climb like a rocket. Unintended. All right. There we go. So now we've separated our Centaur knockoff upper stage. You can see our little payload just kind of chilling right there. There's our little booster. It's kind of just sort of sliding behind. It'll go fling us around. And you can see we're going to get all the way up to apoapsis of 108 kilometers. You can see that climb very cleanly as we're starting to bop over this enemy territory here. There we go. Speed of time just a teeny tiny bit more there. And 108 kilometers. The main engine should be firing in just a moment. Don't want to be early to this, obviously. There it is. So now we're starting apoapsis burn. Let me go pop on the outside real quick. So basically what we're doing is we're trying to get just enough altitude, rip, to pop us into orbit. So now we're raising our apoapsis on this side. Actually, our periapsis, I should be more specific. And then what we'll do is we'll circularize once we get that up a little bit higher. You got to really keep your hand right on the rocket engine control here, though, because sometimes it tends to overshoot. 109. And that's all there is to it. So now we are up to our correct altitude here. I'm going to go ahead and speed up time a little bit here. All right, it's going to circularization burn. I think we can do a slightly more aggressive time warp than that. Notice how much fuel we have left on our Centaur here. We could basically use this to get us up to geosynchronous if we wanted. There's the light side of the planet. And we're going to go ahead and fire up our circularization burn, and we're going to finish kind of rounding everything off here. As you can see right now, we're at 141, and this is at 128. 131, 132, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We did it. Yes. Ta-da. Okay, we're in space. All right, I'll separate from my Centaur. Goodbye, Centaur. You've been a very, very fun friend. Let's go ahead and activate my solar panels. Boop. And now my spy satellite is ready to rock. Whee! Remember, we're gyroscope only on this thing. Oh my gosh, that's sensitive. Let's switch my camera view. There we go. Let's spin ourselves around. Hey, look at this. We can spy now. All right, let's get some good enemy intelligence here. Let me spin myself so I'm a little bit straighter. Now, the neat thing is you can actually tip this thing, too. So I can go like this. See? So I can actually see where we're going. I'll speed up time a little bit. We'll do some photographs of enemy territory here. Okay, there. Oh, okay. Let's take a look at their enemy. Looks like there's a port right down there. I'm going to kind of go sit down and spy on them a teeny tiny bit. Yep, definitely. You can see some major port structures. It looks like they have chemical weapons, nuclear weapons, biological weapons. Yep, definitely worth invading here. All right, so hopefully you found this video kind of interesting. I always think it's fun to kind of give myself a little bit of a goal kind of a thing and try to take a crack at it. I like this particular setup because it was pretty simple to use. Now, one of the neat things I can actually do, and again, I'll demonstrate this real quick. Let me just spin this around. Is I actually have the ability to reorient this. I love how the satellites, our two solar panels reorient there. I can actually fire up this ion engine right here. I'll go ahead and activate it. And now I can use this to go ahead and line me up. Notice I have a delta V of 30.8 kilometers a second. My satellite has the ability to visit any planet in the entire solar system and come back on that amount of fuel. So we have plenty of time. So one of the common tricks here is you can actually fire up the ion engine and use it as a way to lower either your periapsis or your apoapsis. Naturally, when you're firing an ion engine, it takes a little while to actually achieve anything. So if you look on the right there, I've knocked it down to 138 kilometers. If I burn for 3 or 4 days straight, literally that's how many days it's going to take me, I can actually lower my periapsis low enough to be able to see things on the ground a little bit smoother. So I'm going to go ahead and kill this. You'll notice that my battery has basically completely depleted. Remember, we put the little tiny battery on this thing, and it's going to take a little while for those solar panels to charge it up. Like I'll speed up time real quick just to show you how slow that process is. So if you have enough patience, you can really adjust the orbit of your little satellite here. Now I know some people at home are going, why didn't you just use your little upper stage there to do all this work? You could have, and a lot of times we use that upper stage to get us into geosynchronous orbit, which is about 8,300 kilometers for those who are interested. All right, hopefully this video is interesting. Like I said, it's just kind of fun to give myself a little goal and try it out. I'm very pleased the fact that this worked as well as it does. You can actually see my upper stage right there. It's all the way down there. See it? Click on it. Let's get some fireworks then. Thanks. Bye. Boom. All right. Other than that, enjoy.